Good morning. I uh, I like Jordan Peterson. I really do. I don't agree with everything he says, but I have to say I really do like Jordan Peterson. Um, I understand where he's coming from. You know, Jordan Peterson is a Christian and he espouses Christian values, and that I don't agree with. But when it comes to psychology, I think he's possibly the best that there is out there. Like because, but in saying that, like for example, like Jordan Peterson would say, 12 rules for life, and then is his next book, then one more rule or more rules. And I say there are no rules, there are no rules. But this is very much because Jordan Peterson is a Christian. And the Christians are shepherds, like the Christians are shepherds, the shepherd sheep. And I say the shepherds get to eat wool and get to have wool and lamb jobs. And I would consider myself more a goat herd than a shepherd. And if you understand the ambiguities of that, you'll know exactly what I mean. But I absolutely have no interest in sheep. You know what I mean? I have no interest in sheep. We lead the sheep to Jordan Peterson and to the Christians and to the likes of the Christians. And I say they can have the wool and the lamb chops, but I'd be more a goat herd. You know, in this part of the world anyway, we don't eat goats. In Africa, they eat goats, but in this part of the world, we don't eat goats. I don't see them in the shop anyway. So basically, I actually don't know anybody that keeps goats, but you'd have goat's milk or you'd have goat's cheese. Yeah, goat's milk and goat's cheese, but you don't see goat's meat. Anyway, yeah, Peterson reckons like that the first thing he does with his clients, if he gets somebody that's suffering from trauma, or if somebody is suffering from anything, whatever, the first thing he does is he builds up a philosophy of evil. And I'm not going to make any apologies for my last few videos that, which have been talking about evil, like not to put too fine a point on it. I've been talking about evil, but the first thing Peterson does is builds up a philosophy of evil because the reason for this is, that the first thing you have to do if you don't want to be bothered by evil, which is an inherent part of nature, you have to change your opinion about evil. You have to understand evil. You have to understand that it's an inherent part of nature, and you have to learn how to deal with it. Because when you learn how to deal with it, then you can have a tranquil mind. These thoughts won't bother you. It doesn't matter what thoughts the universe sends you. Like sends me thoughts all day yesterday. I thought about Joseph Mengele, but I'm not going to talk about Joseph Mengele today. But I can think about Joseph Mengele all day and unravel the ambiguities of Joseph Mengele and the reason for Joseph Mengele's creation, which I did do. But I can contemplate this with absolutely no disturbance caused to my mind whatsoever. I can sit here on my own, drink coffee, and sit and contemplate that all fucking day long, and it does not cause me one bit of a disturbance. That's because I have an understanding of evil. I have a philosophy of evil. Now, in saying that, when you have a philosophy of evil, it doesn't make you an evil prick because, I'm not interested in harming anybody or killing anybody. But in saying that, I mean, as Peterson says, it's all about controlling this. Like, it's about controlling this. Make yourself a sheep, and the wolves will eat you, and it's as simple as that. But if you can sit here and mind your own fucking business, like, regardless of what's going on around you, like that's for me is a good position to be in. But of course, the universe never leaves me undisturbed. I constantly saying, you leave me alone, leave me alone. But this is not. It doesn't cause me disturbance as such. That's about as bad as it gets. I just say, leave me alone, leave me alone. But this morning, I'm not going to talk about evil. I'm going to talk about love. And love used to be one of my favorite subjects. Love Freedom and love are abstract concepts, and why I call them abstract concepts is because uh, your concept of freedom might be completely different from my concept of freedom, which I have put considerable study into the subject. So my concept of freedom might be entirely different to yours, but we both have a concept of freedom. But you have a concept of freedom, like for example, like if you might think in terms of financial freedom, or you might think of You might not be working. You might not be working. You might not have a job. You might consider this freedom. You know what I mean? But this, what I mean, freedom is an abstract concept. But love is also an abstract concept because a lot of people, like, now love for me, like, a lot of people, have a concept of love, and then if you have the Western concept of love, it more or less means, like, that you are mine, you are mine. Uh, let's get married, and we'll have a contractual agreement that you are mine. And this is the Western concept of love, but love is an abstract concept. And I remember, like, when I had this concept of love, I used to avoid love like the plague, because one thing about love is the hardest emotion of all to control. Now, when I went through all the emotions, I went through anger, went through all the emotions anyway. But love is the hardest emotion of all to control. Now, people say it's anger, and people have wrote whole books in anger, but I have anger under control. Anger is not a problem to me. Like, I don't really get angry anymore. Anger is not a problem for me, but love, yeah, love is the hardest emotion of all to control. And what is an emotion? Well, there's two parts to an emotion. There's an effective movement within the body and a judgment. And the whole trick is to attach the right judgment to the feeling, and then you will not be disturbed. But if you attach the wrong judgment to the feeling, by Jesus, you are going to be in fucking trouble. And that's why I say love is the hardest emotion of all to control, because sometimes, you think you're in control of this emotion. Like, you might think to yourself, oh, I don't get angry, I don't get stressed, I don't get stressed, until the shit hits the fan, until you're put in a position, like, I'll talk with stress again, but until you actually put in a position, like, I would have said to myself, no, I don't get stressed, no, it takes a lot to stress me, but then when the shit hits the fan, you find yourself with a nosebleed and lying on your back on the floor, and the universe asking, is stress a choice? Is stress a choice? And I said, no, it's not a fucking choice. Who's stressing you? You're stressing me. They're stressing me. You're stressing me. And then the universe says, are you in control of yourself? And I says, no, actually, I'm not in control of myself. I have allowed you to stress me. I've allowed them to stress me. I've allowed everybody to stress me, but I am not in control of myself. And from this point on, then you start to learn self-control. But once you actually realize that you're not in control, then you start to say to yourself, right, I'm taking the fucking reins here. And love is sort of the same. And love is sort of the same, but without exposure therapy, you can't learn to manage these emotions. Yeah, without exposure therapy. But attachment is what the Buddhists say is the biggest, the root of all evil. Attachment say this is the cause of all suffering. This is the cause of all suffering. Attachment. And most people, when they read these affirmations, they don't actually understand attachment. They don't actually understand attachment. But attachment is, this is mine. I want this. This is, I'm. Uh, for example, if I was to say, this is my hostel, I'm taking this hostel, this is my hostel, you can't smoke inside, you can't piss here, this is my hostel, And this is trying to control things that is not yours to control. For starters, it's not my hostel, I'm looking after this hostel. And it's very important to constantly keep this in mind, that I'm looking after this hostel. In other words, I clean the fucking thing. I clean it, and that's about the extent of it. And that's about the extent of me trying to control others, like that I look after this hostel, but that's the extent of it. Do you understand? That's the extent of it. I'm not going to try and tell anybody what to do or anything else. This is a completely free zone, and I'll clean it. It doesn't matter what to do, what to don't do. I don't give a fuck. I'll clean it. I'll deal with it. Like, I'll clean it, and that'll cause me no stress or no nothing, because I'm completely detached from the hostel. At the same time, I'll clean this hostel. I'll clean it from top to bottom, but I'm detached. I'm detached from the hostel. Do you understand? Yeah. And then, love, yeah. But you're going to get tested. So then, like, you're going to get, if someone walks in here and they're fucking, of course, there's always a primer. There's always a fucking, a foundation laid, and then they fucking put on the final layer, and you say, oh, fuck you, So, like, you know, well, we all have a projection, don't we? We all have a projection. We all have this, I won't say ideal woman, but we all have a type. We all have a sort of an ideal. Even if you think you don't, you do. Like, even if you think you don't, you do. You know. And then, of course, But I say the first step is you have to look past the smoke and mirrors. You have to look past the projections and personas, the projections and personas. And some people call this the honeymoon period, the projections and personas. That means, like, you see what you want to see, what you want to see. So you project your ideal. Oh, this is my ideal. This is my ideal. Oh, you like art. Oh, you like philosophy. Oh. Oh, Jesus. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is amazing. But I don't say this is amazing. I say, you fucker. You fucker, you're not doing this to me, you don't get me, you're not doing this to me, you're not doing this to me. Ah. And of course then there's a persona, because everybody, like, as I say about the Americans all go hi, hi. This is a persona. They put up this, this big hi, is everybody good, this is a persona. Meanwhile they might be out in the room and be saying that can't. So this is a persona. So you have to look past the smoke and mirrors. This is stage one. You have to look past the smoke and mirrors. And number two is you have to remain completely detached, or you are going to get some serious kick in the bollocks. You have to, and stay detached, and stay detached. Nobody owns anybody. Stay detached. Stay completely detached, and constantly reject this. Constantly reject this. Constantly reject this. I'm telling you, you have to constantly reject this. But it's saying that, I remember I got so roasted one time with love that I just said that love is an addiction. An addiction as bad as any other. It's an addiction as bad as any other. Let me get off this fucking thing. It's an addiction as bad as any other, I used to say about love, because oxytocin is the bonding hormone, which docks in the same receptors as heroin. So I used to say, like, that love is an addiction. Love is an addiction. You're actually technically addicted to another person. And then the withdrawals from this is severe, severe. So I said to myself, when you're off the heroin, I'm staying off the fucking heroin. And then I used to say to different women, because I used to hang around with good women, I used to say, why would I indulge in the heroin when I'm enjoying the cocaine? Like, I'm enjoying the cocaine, I'm enjoying the party, I'm enjoying the company, I'm enjoying the buzz, I'm enjoying having the company of several women, but nobody gets to own me, nobody gets to rubber stamp me, nobody gets to control me, because I'm not addicted. And I and then the universe said to me, there's safeguarding measures. Like, you're denying yourself one of the best experiences in life. You're denying yourself this, you're avoiding this. And I said to myself, oh, well, I'm good, thanks with it, I said, love is an addiction. I said, it's like I said, love is like bringing a big stick to a fight. I said, and then I said, if you bring a big stick to a fight, I don't know if you have this experience, the stick gets taken from you and you're beaten half to death with it. And I said to myself, then when you go into the fight the next time, you don't tend to reach out for this stick. You leave this stick in the corner because you have this experience. And the universe said to me, yeah, Dave, but the trick is to learn how to use that stick. And I said, oh, that's very good. Oh, that's very good. You're right. Yes, you are right. It's all about learning how to use that stick. But at the same time, if you don't have exposure therapy, or you don't start fighting using the stick and learning how to use the stick, you can't learn how to use the stick. Do you understand me? So yeah, it's about learning how to use that stick. Detachment. Learn how to use that stick. That is. Nobody owns anybody. Well, good morning. Talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow.